Watching someone die is never the hard part. It's the waiting that's the hard part. Take it from me because I know. It's not like we were kidding ourselves about Grandma's prognosis or anything. Stage 4 lung cancer was bad and everybody knew it. Making her comfortable and spending what time she had left with her family was the most important thing, the doctors said. For a little while, things went back to normal. My grandma taught me piano like she always did and played dolls with my little sister. By all accounts, she looked like her usual self. But cancer, I came to realize, is a slow knife, and little by little I watched as the disease consumed her. Until near the end, there was practically nothing left. "Take care of your sister," she told me. 2 weeks later, she was dead. It hit my sister the hardest. We were all close with Grandma, but Cassie always had a special connection that seemed to transcend spoken language. If my sister was having a bad day, it just seemed like my grandma understood her completely. No explanation was needed. No discussion was required. She just got it. "Where is she going?" my sister asked me at the funeral. "To be with Grandpa," I told her. "To live in a better place where she doesn't have to be in pain anymore." Cassie didn't say anything back to me. She just nodded stoically. I guess that was enough of an explanation for a 10-year-old. After we buried her and said our goodbyes, things started to return to normal. Sure, the pain was still there, but we all got on with grieving in our own ways. Every day it hurt a little less, and I started to fall back into that normal routine. I laughed with friends, took my girlfriend out on dates, and played pickup basketball at the park. Things weren't the best like they used to be, but they were going okay. A couple weeks later, I was fast asleep in my bedroom when something woke me up. A noise of some kind. Was I just dreaming something? Surely I must have been. Looking at my alarm clock, the screen read 1 a.m. I gave an exhausted sigh and closed my eyes, trying to fall back asleep. But there it was again. That sound. I could hear it. I snapped into the upright position, heart racing at 1,000 beats per minute, cocking my ear towards the door. I listened closely. Right away, I knew what that sound was. It was piano music coming from downstairs. I'd know that sound anywhere. I shot out of bed thinking that someone had broken in. What I saw when I walked into the living room made my jaw drop open in shock. There was my sister, still in her pajamas, sitting on the floor next to the piano. But what was next to her was so alarming that I will never forget it as long as I live. There was my grandma, who I had watched die myself not even 3 weeks ago, sitting at the piano with my 10-year-old sister. For all intents and purposes, what I saw looked like my grandma, yes. But there was something distinctly off about her that made my stomach turn. Flecks of dirt peppered her hair like earthy dandruff, and thick mold decorated her lace wedding dress, the same one we had buried her in. As she snapped her head harshly to the side to look at me, I noticed that the skin on her face drooped like melted wax. That wasn't what scared me, though. No. It was her smile that terrified me the most. Because when she was alive, there was no warmer smile in the entire world than my grandmother's. With just one look, my grandma could light up even the darkest shadows. She was a woman full of love and happiness, and anybody lucky enough to catch one of her smiles could feel just a sliver of that feeling. She was smiling at me now, but this was not the smile that I remembered from my grandmother. This smile was stiff and unmoving. It was rigid to match her eyes, which were dry and stretched open as wide as her wrinkled skin could stretch. She did not blink. She just looked at me with laser-like focus, unmoving, unflinching, and inhuman. The way Grandma looked at me reminded me more of a reptile than a sweet old lady. "Cassie?" I stuttered. "What is going on here?" Before Cassie could answer, my grandma whipped her head around to lock eyes with my sister, all the while her smile still remaining intact. "I missed Grandma," Cassie told me, "so I woke her up." To my horror, Grandma cooed softly and ran her fingers affectionately through my sister's hair like she used 2 weeks ago. "Cassie," I started. ignoring Grandma's gaze. "You need to come with me." My sister pouted, disappointed that her play date was getting cut short. Grandma, in contrast, stopped smiling for the first time since I had laid eyes on her. "Bye, Grandma," Cassie said, waving goodbye. "You can go home now." And with that, I watched as my grandma walked out the front door with robotic stiffness. She had a disjointed hitch in her step, as if there were invisible cinder blocks attached to her feet. I took Cassie's hand, eager for this nightmare to be over, and together we walked upstairs to go back to sleep. I didn't bring up what I saw to Cassie, and she never mentioned it to me. Did I have some kind of mental break from reality? How could I rationalize what I had seen? For her part, Cassie didn't seem to have any problem at all. In fact, her mood in the coming weeks seemed remarkably improved. In the initial time after Grandma's funeral, Cassie had been downright depressed. But now, she was positively chipper. I did the best thing I could to forget what I saw that night, chalking the experience up to a bad combination of stress and sleep deprivation. For a while, things seemed normal again. Normal, that is, until a month later, when my life changed forever. It was the storm of the century that night. What started as a pitter-patter of rain quickly turned into a downpour, and before long, the crackle of lightning turned the storm into an all-out monsoon. It wasn't long before I drifted to sleep with the soothing background noise. Sometime during the middle of the night, a noise woke me out of my deep sleep. At first, I thought it was a particularly loud clap of thunder. I was wrong. Something was in the bedroom with me. I scanned around the room, trying to see who was there. I could tell that something was watching me, but it was too dark for my eyes to focus on the mysterious visitor. All of a sudden, a stroke of lightning briefly illuminated my bedroom. Something was staring at me. It was at the foot of my bed. "Hello?" I said nervously. "Who's there?" I demanded. Still nothing. "I'll call the police," I threatened. Still no response. Another stroke of lightning illuminated the bedroom, and my worst dreams were confirmed. The lightning wasn't enough to see everything, but I could make out the curve of a stiff smile. And that was all I needed to see. My heart sunk as my grandma's figure started to move towards me, her figure limping between eclipses of darkness and splashes of lightning. This was the end, I thought. I didn't know what was going to happen, but I was sure it would not be good. Whatever this thing was certainly looked like my grandma, but my grandma would never lay a finger on me. Whatever was inside of this thing, though, was not my grandma. And that made me scared. As Grandma came within inches of my face, I thought for sure that I was going to die. She was so close that I could smell the rotten decay of flesh in my nostrils. The stench was overpowering. There was no smile now. This was it, I thought. This was the end. And then I heard the voice of my sister. "Grandma?" Cassie exclaimed. The figure whipped its head away to examine my sister. I can't be certain, but I think I saw a smile on her face. "Get away, Cassie," I urged my sister. "Get out of here." Cassie looked at me as if nothing in the entire world was wrong. "It's okay," she smiled. "Come on, Grandma, I have some more friends I'd like to play with." And with that, my grandma took my sister's outstretched hand, and together they walked out of my bedroom into the night. I never saw my sister again.